So I'm Sean with Team Flare, and we make easy-to-use, affordable, and subscription-free pocket-sized radio for wilderness adventure groups, providing them messaging and location tracking that is 60 times faster than satellite systems and works without cell service. So the demographic that we interviewed is wilderness adventure groups without cell service, and the hypothesis we tested is that that group will purchase our product if it's easy to use, more affordable, and provides that 60 times faster messaging and location sharing than their current devices. Our demographic relies on walkie-talkies without cell service, but often find them unreliable due to missed or delayed responses. Many feel that existing alternatives are too costly and are geared toward extreme users, making them less accessible. They prefer devices that's lightweight and compact, as they're usually already carrying a lot of gear. This demographic, what we found was like they lack a device for messaging and location sharing, and they would value these features if designed was for more casual use and at an affordable price. A product that provides more safety or responsive features more reliably than walkie-talkie could be beneficial to this demographic. Some of the next steps that we have is to schedule more interviews with our demographic and figure out what's missing and how the products they usually use fall short. This is our ecosystem map. So this is us, Flare, and we have our part supplier. We're influenced by the FCC, or the Federal Communications System. And we have a potential influencer and collaborator social media, as well as big distributors who influence our product end user. We also directly influence our end user. The FCC also influenced one of our competitors, which are the radio competitors, and they're the GMRS, HAM, and the FRS group. And we have one more competitor, which are the satellite competitors, which are the Garmin, Zoleo, and some of the other satellite products. Our customer segment are the wilderness adventure groups without cell service, and the values that we provide are safety insurance, which is with immediate communication, location sharing, allowing them to quickly reach out and find their group members. We're cost effective by providing affordable with no subscription with respect to some of the other devices offering similar values. And we're intuitive because we work out of the box with minimal configuration and regulations. Thank you.
Okay, that was about 2:24, so you still had about 35 seconds or something like that. It was great, but as usual, I can't comment on my own team, so I will just take notes.
Yeah, so can you go back to your ecosystem slide? So, okay, cool. So yeah, this is good. This is a good start, definitely. I would say a couple things to think about. So are all the users you've interviewed so far all Android users? Because no one uses an iPhone, I guess, that you've talked to yet?
It was both Android and iPhone.
Okay, because to say they don't have the ability to communicate via satellite with that's a new feature for iPhone. So I was just curious if maybe the people you interviewed don't know that, but that's something that is just launched, as you know. We've talked about that outside of class, but so I would consider adding Apple to your satellite competitors, as well as I don't know if you've heard, but you probably know this, but Starlink is also going to go direct to cell in the coming months, and that's going to be, I mean, there's a good chance that Garmin's going to be put out of business by these two big players over time, and Zoleo, but for now they're fine, I think, because they have dedicated devices, et cetera, and some people want to have two devices and not just one or whatever. But I would just consider that, then can you go to your first slide? Okay, and then the next slide. So are these insights, you think? I mean, like, do you feel like you're getting insights? I mean, do you feel like these are insights, or are these like, because I mean, and actually, Eric, you should comment on this because you're really good at breaking down the difference between lessons learned and insights. So do you feel like this is a good breakdown, Eric? Even though it is your own team, you can still comment.
I'm just starting to read this now, and I'm squinting at this.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. I'm just trying to make sure all the teams understand the difference between the feedback you're getting from the interviews, and then what that may do over time. Like let's just say you do 70 interviews over the next X amount of time, even after class, and that may become something that starts being directional to you as a founder, right? In terms of either a change or a pivot in your strategy or in your business hypothesis. So I'm my only point to all the startups is just, make sure that you're understanding the difference between the lessons learned and the insights, because the insights are often a business change or pivot, and that lessons learned are basically customer feedback. And, as a startup, you need to decide what you're listening to. You may not listen to customer feedback after a certain point, or you may disagree with it. And you may say, I know more than the customer in this case. And so just a few things for all the startups to think about.
Yeah, and I'll just
But
add in
good
on to
job on the
that.
pitch.
No, that was great. I'll just add on to that. So lessons learned are what you hear. Insights are what you think about is relevant to your technology. So for example, insights number one, demographic does not have a device that can provide this stuff. That's just basic information. That's just background material that they could have told you. You could have read this online saying that people don't have this sort of thing. With the fact that they might like this feature, insight number two, or a product that has safety responsiveness features more reliable than a walkie-talkie, those are more what you're thinking about with your product. So while I think insight number one is a lesson, something that you could hear or just read, two and three are probably a little closer to lessons. I'm sorry, to insights. That's thinking
Yeah.
what you're applying.
Agree.
Another point on that is sometimes if you're surprised by information that you get from the interview, the lessons learned on the left side, if you're surprised by something, a lot of times that's an insight. That's a clue that it's an insight that you should pay attention to.
That's always a good point. I've had teams pivot after one astounding interview where they suddenly realize, oh my gosh, we've been thinking about this the wrong way. But it happens.
Can you go to, this is John, can you go to your ecosystem slide? I'm trying to understand the differentiation here, and I'm a geek, so I'm going to get into the technology a little bit. So you've got the satellite competitors, you got the radio competitors. From a technical standpoint, are you creating like an ad hoc mesh network, or like how are you communicating amongst these players, your group?
It is a peer-to-peer radio device. So think about like a walkie-talkie, how it's like a one-to-one, but it's on the radio spectrum, not using mesh networking.
Okay, and you're in the ISM band, so you don't have to worry about the FCC?
Correct.
You still do. You still have to worry about it. Any device that radiates has to have an ID.
And pass the FCC regs for transmission.
Yeah.
Okay. And nobody else is playing in that world? Is this that you know of? I'm moving into the competitor side.
There's hobbyist use. There's no there's amateur ham radios. There's like electronics hobbyists that do this. I don't think they don't have like a product or like a platform. It's sort of like it's hobbyist grade is what we would call it. So they have different things. Like, of course, there's ham radios. They people with the base stations can talk to anywhere around the world. But for devices that are operating the ISM band, there are like hobbyist devices that are made that do this. It's more so for communication rather than like location tracking. But there is hobbyist use.
But your value proposition, you're providing not only the comms, also the location, peer-to-peer location.
Mostly it's like a location tracker with messaging rather than a communications device.
Okay, so you're triangulating off that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there are hobbyists out there, it's always important to try and see who else is selling similar products, or if there are groups or organizations that you can get into. Lock into those. They'll give you some good leads or thoughts of where to go to.
Eric, do I have time for one more comment?
20 seconds.
Okay. Go to your business model canvas again real quick, number 4. Your customer segment, you say, is a wilderness adventure groups. One of the things we really like to see both in your business thesis and in the customer segment is to identify a person. You don't want to like identify a bank. You want to identify the VP of a bank. You don't want to identify an organization. You want to identify a person in that organization that you know is your customer that can make a decision. So you might think about that going forward. Otherwise, a nice presentation.
Okay, so we'll take that down. Neotech is next.
All right, I'm here. Sorry you can't see me. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
We hear you just fine.
Perfect. All right.
See the screen, looks good.
All right, you see it in presentation mode?
Yep, it's there.
Right. So we are Neo Technologies, and we're developing a unique solution for preppers and homesteaders who already have a way to generate and store their own electricity, food, and water. But now they will have a way to generate their own internet, store their own resources and tools, and access information and communications inside their local area with our device. So we are interviewing preppers and homesteaders to see if this is a device that they want. What we're finding is that out of all the features that we're including, what is most important to them is the ability to communicate remotely from their network to a nearby network without an internet connection. So in the case of the internet going down, they'd still be able to message and share resources with people in their vicinity. We're just finding overwhelmingly that that's what they're interested in. That's what they're willing to spend money on. And they're actually willing to spend up to 6 times what our target price point was. So we're finding that feature, if we can really deliver it in a way that is useful to them, they're willing to pay much more than we were expecting for that feature. This is our ecosystem. The way we have it now is that we would be buying parts, assembling these devices, selling them both directly to these prepper homesteader homeowners, but also to these bunker builder companies who are coming up with the solutions that these people want in a doomsday scenario. So they're going out to these contractors saying, I want my home to be self-sufficient. What are my solutions that I have for this? We could sell directly to those contractors for them to sell our product as one of the many solutions to the homeowner, as the only solution on the market for this doomsday internet scenario. Our competition we see because of our fundamental functionality that we have some competition with network attached storage companies such as QNAS and Synology. However, again, the radio seems to be what the customers are really interested in. That is something that's totally outside their spectrum. But we also do see the software as a service companies being a possible saboteur, as we are giving the user the ability to host a single purchase software on their network and have access to it from all of their devices, which is really what the consumer is paying software as a service companies for through a monthly subscription. We think that YouTube preppers and these online accounts such as Instagram accounts and stuff that are going through all these different products of what people could be using to make themselves more sufficient is really our target early evangelist, and they would be a big proponent in pushing our technologies. So for this prepper homesteader market, the value proposition that we're giving are network and communication security, regardless of existing infrastructure, reliable access to information and contacts during infrastructure failures, and the need for fewer subscriptions to online services because they're being hosted locally, securely, and privately. That is my presentation.
Just about perfect on timing, a few seconds over, but you spent about half the time on the ecosystem map, but everybody does that. The new slide, they always spend more time on. As you get better, you'll trim it down. So if we get the mentors to make some comments.
Yeah, I think they did a good job on the ecosystem slide. I guess, yeah, I think this is good. The higher price point is a good finding as well on your interviews. And I guess like you said, the doomsday internet scenario, it looks like that's becoming your USP or unique selling proposition. So that's an interesting, and it's early, obviously, in interviews, but that's interesting. It's cool.
Thank you.
So I'm going to geek out again. The methodology you're not going to use the existing internet providers, but you have to have comms. Are you using like free space optics or like what's
For
the
for communications, we are using mesh networking through LoRa radio. So
okay.
that's just communications between devices. And then
Okay.
for information gathering without the internet, we're using basically it's basically a ham receiver, just to access all the local signals for news, weather, um, all this information that's just abundant.
Okay. Yeah, just as an aside, if you're looking, if you have line of sight, check out this company called LiveDrop, livedrop.eu, where it uses it's like an n-dimensional QR code where you can do massive amounts of information flow as long as you have line of sight
Interesting. Okay.
without using the radio waves.
I'll definitely be looking at that. You said live drop, LIV.
LiveDrop.eu. There's some friends of mine over in the Netherlands are using it. So when you have to have a where you have comms where you're not allowed to have any RF,
Yeah.
but you do have a line of sight, but with the right optics, line of sight could be from a satellite.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you.
Everywhere in Netherlands is in line of sight. It's those canyons behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a very hard market there, but come to Montana, not going to work so well. And also radio doesn't work very well either. So that's something to think about, I guess, is where the customers are going to be, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
definitely.
no if you cannot use radios at all, where you have to go dark. This is a technique to share massive, like 1 megabit per second.
One facet of one of our features actually is that the more people in your community who have one of these devices that you're connecting to, the stronger that network gets. And you can go around mountains basically if you've got people, a community that is going around that mountain.
Okay.
Okay.
That's cool.
Still have a few minutes left.
I did that good.
If no one's going to throw anything in. I did ask you in our discussion about the SaaS companies as saboteurs.
Yes.
I'm not geeky enough in this space to know why they could be a saboteur. Obviously, they're going to they're competition in the sense that they have the internet, and so they don't like the fact that you have a alternate internet.
Yeah.
But how do they disrupt you? How does a saboteur, in this case, a SaaS provider, hurt these guys? How do they know that they're somehow getting in there, and how do they hurt them?
Well, it's really that we're taking business away from them. So they're renting out access to their servers for you to access whatever software that they're selling to you. And we're giving you a place to buy it once, run it as many times as you want on your own hardware. So we're stealing their clientele, because why would you pay monthly for something that you can purchase once and have forever?
I mean,
so maybe I'm not super sure on what methods that they would go through to be a saboteur. Even if it's just some marketing campaign where they're saying that we're, giving a lower quality of service or whatever, but we see them as being someone who would have an issue with what we're doing.
It could happen. I'm left here hanging, saying like, could it happen?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Okay. And I'm not tech enough to know it. Okay. Any other questions out there? We've still got.
I mean, the thing they have to figure out, I mean, there's a reason why most of these hardware companies have some type of SaaS component, is because hardware business sucks. And the hardware business is like just a terrible business, and it's super low margin. And you're going to get a bunch of copycats doing whatever you do and selling on Amazon the day you launch. And so like that's one of the reasons why a lot of the startups are kind of forced into this, having to have a SaaS model, or a HaaS, hardware as a service model. And I'm not saying you'll need to, because I mean, you could, if you keep this cheap enough, and if your user acquisition costs are low enough, and you and your team can make enough money. Once again, this isn't a venture business, but doesn't matter. It could still be an awesome business that you build for you and your family and your co-founders and stuff. So yeah, but just that's the reason why so many of these hardware devices get a SaaS component attached to them, is because a lot of them raise venture capital, and the venture capitalists aren't going to invest in a hardware company. Zero are going to invest in a hardware only company. So
yeah, we've definitely thought of that. We're a platform for other software. So what we'd like to do is to generate revenue through licensing third-party softwares to run on our platform that we sell through some kind of store. Not only software, but also media.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it's good. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have TolerAir.
Figure out how to stop.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're in slide mode. So if you want to, yep, there you go. Now we see it.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Let me just. All right, all set. So we are TolerAir, and we are a biotechnology company that will be developing drugs to treat chronic lung disease due to exposure to environmental toxins. So far, we've only been able to have about 3 interviews, but we have a few more lined up. Our interview demographics are clinicians, and our hypothesis that we are testing is if that our therapeutic will provide protection against chronic lung disease caused by environmental toxins. From these interviews, what we've learned is that clinicians are aware of this link between environmental exposures, namely dust, and asthma symptoms, and they try to mitigate as much as they can, but the current therapeutic profile doesn't really allow for much. We also learned that new pediatric guidelines are now pushing clinicians to get patients on steroids quicker, and that patients and physicians are complaining that their respiratory care needs are not being met, which kind of just opens that whole avenue for the need of new treatment for chronic lung disease. So insights that were gained is that there is actually a critical need in the clinic for therapeutics targeted at treating this type of lung disease, and also that cure and help manage non-responsive diseases. Additionally, we found that treatment must demonstrate clinical need for insurance companies to provide coverage, and this has been a big issue recently with different therapeutics being covered by insurance companies. So this was actually one of our most important insights that we gained from interviewing some of these clinicians. Next steps, we plan to schedule more interviews. Of course, we have a few lined up for next week as well. So hopefully we'll gain a little more insights from that. This is our ecosystem map. It really begins with our community members and organizations, as well as asthma patients and their family members acting as influencers, along with clinicians to kind of influence these insurance companies to buy or cover our drug so that we can get it out there into the clinic. Our decision makers are healthcare networks such as San Bernardino Indian Health and others, as well as clinicians, again, to kind of influence these insurance companies to cover our product. Our competitors, as well as our potential saboteurs, are other larger companies that already have asthma treatment portfolios. Our end user are our asthma patients. And then also we have potential collaborators and influencers who, again, is this large pharmaceutical company, being that our exit plan is to sort of partner with a larger pharmaceutical company in commercialization. Our value proposition really is the alleviation of the severe asthma-like symptoms that are associated with this lung disease induced by environmental toxin exposure. And for our customer segments, we are focusing on clinicians for the purpose of this course.
Okay, about 15 seconds remaining. So actually, could you just jump back to your hypothesis slide for a moment? I'm trying to figure out our therapeutic will provide protection against lung disease. How is that a hypothesis? Because a hypothesis is if our therapeutic does something, then people will want it or something like that. If then, or we believe such and such will be better than, our customers will want it if it provides X% increase in effectiveness or something like that. So this doesn't read like a hypothesis, but if you could go to your next slide, the map. Again, the question with the saboteurs, and this is always a tricky one to figure out. You say companies with asthma therapy portfolios are competitors and they're also saboteurs. And I'm not sure I understand the difference, why you have one as one and one as another. That's just a comment there. It wasn't explained. So maybe if you have some better reason to give, that would be helpful for us to understand. And I don't understand the blue box. You've got the patients and the insurance companies. Is that blue box a hospital or a clinic or something? Or what is the bigger blue-gray box surrounding?
That's just stylistic. That was just a part of the template.
Oh, I thought it was maybe to represent inside a hospital, you have patients and insurance people.
No.
So the putting boxes for the box's sake is a little kind of disorienting, and I was trying to figure out how the flow of things. Maybe if you want to put clinicians and the billing people next to the insurance companies next to the billing people, and one big box for the hospital or the clinic or something, then it would piece together a little easier. And so it would be easier to understand. The point of this map is to make it easy to understand how your business works.
Yeah, I think I guess I'm not understanding this at all. I mean, I think your slides are great, but I'm not getting what you're actually doing. So you're a drug discovery company, or you are a community drug discovery company, and so I'm not understanding. So your idea is that you'll discover drugs that are better than the current existing asthma and other respiratory drugs that are out there that are currently being used to treat these populations of people in highly polluted areas?
So we actually discovered a new disease that we're treating. So there is no treatment for this new disease currently.
Okay, so discovered a new disease. Okay, so you're basically you're not going to be taking and testing drugs from existing pharma companies. You're going to be doing your own FDA approval pathway.
Yes.
Okay. And you have that drug identified that cures the disease, or you're looking for it?
We have it, and we've begun animal trials.
Oh, cool. And in what? Mice?
Yes, and mice.
Okay. Nice. And this is out of UCR?
Yes.
Okay.
This was one of the POC projects. I was assisting them as well. And it didn't come through. I will agree with Scott that it didn't come through as to how this is different. This is a subset of types of asthma that don't respond to the normal therapies. And so maybe if you just said that, because you had about 12 seconds in the intro and about a minute and a half on the hypothesis slide. So if you just spent an extra 5 or 10 seconds, which you had time for, you could have said, we're treating a subset of the asthma population that are not responsive to classic therapy because they're affected by a different pathway or something like that. You're going through the FDA process. I'd like to see where is the FDA on this ecosystem map. They're obviously going to have some say in you getting out there to the market.
So we are actually repurposing a drug that is currently already commercially available. So the FDA, I'm not sure how much.
That's what I was asking.
It's our direct.
Well, if you're repurposing a drug,
there's also new drugs and new formulations and new chemistry, so it won't just be
it's going to be more than just like a 510K clearance or something.
So it's more than that, Eric.
Yeah. Well, I have to see how the formulation goes, and but I'm not privy to that, so I don't know. But the FDA would be in there.
Okay, thank you.
Well, so I could just tell you right now. So I'm mentoring a number of life science startups that are attempting to raise capital to get to get into clinical trials, and it's an unbelievably brutal market right now. And this includes UC spinouts, not just and other universities. One out of that Eric and I are working on together out of University of Utah out of Salt Lake. So I guess one thing I'm sure you've already thought of. Do you have how much SBIR, STTR funding do you have coming in right now? I mean, I guess you have some if you're doing a mouse test, right?
No. So right now we're actually working on academic funding, and we will be applying for SBIR. So we don't have any company.
Great.
POC money right now.
It's what, POC? Okay.
POC, yeah.
It's UCR POC, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So you'll be applying for SBIR. Okay. And we have a whole team that helps with that, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
We're in communications.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Still got a minute or so left if somebody wants to say something.
Just a little update. I just got looks like confirmation that the Mayo Clinic interview could be happening. So
that's amazing. Thank you so much, John.
One of the points that came up maybe is an interesting thing is that the larger pharmaceuticals could both be partners or competitors. So that's why there's potentially some ambiguity about that.
You're a little low on interviews right now, as I seem to recall. Are you having problems? Do you need some help getting some contacts, or was it just some stumbles getting out of the start?
Physicians are notoriously difficult to schedule.
Yeah, it's just hard to get a hold of clinicians as well as, people who are helping them. But we'll take any leads that you can throw our way.
Look at everyone on this map. They're all valid people you can interview. Ideally, you want to be talking with physicians, but everyone on this map is a potential person that you could talk to if you structure your questions right.
Okay, that's perfect. I was a little worried because initially they told us to keep it to one demographic.
Well, you're having one set of sale. You're selling to clinicians for the purpose of treating this heretofore unrecognized subset of asthma cases. But if there are other entities involved and you can learn some stuff from them, give it a try. But I would say, yeah, your primary customer is still the physician. So try and get most of your interviews there.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I think we're out of time. So who's next? Neurovascular device. Where are they? Do we have them here?
Hello. Yeah.
Oh, there you
Sorry,
are.
my mic was muted. Let me charge. Let me show this.
John, is your team here? I just see you for GotInfo. Where's the rest of the GotInfo? Oh, no, there you are, Magdalena. Okay, gotcha. All right.
Okay. Is it rolling?
Yep, when you're ready.
Okay. Cool. So we're the neurovascular device team. Quick business thesis is that we're a stroke prevention provider for brain surgeons treating aneurysms in the back of the brain. And our solution promotes healing within aneurysms while maintaining necessary blood flow in surrounding arteries. And this offers a innovative approach to aneurysm treatment. Okay, so for the interview weekly summary, the hypothesis for testing is, if our device does what it's intended to, doctors who specialize in brain and blood vessel treatments will likely use it as an alternative solution. For the interview for this past week, it was another neurology resident, and basically he was just reiterating that the needs and the facts from the last interview. For example, the challenge of maintaining flow while healing the aneurysm in the back of the brain, and also reiterating the lack of a tailored solution. So another thing he said was that the current most popular solution is a flow diverter, and this solution is actually related to a high mortality rate. And then some insights that we gained is that I wanted to look into that high mortality rate, and then it turns out there's a lot of clinical data that shows that that number is 40%. So first and foremost, we're going to update our value proposition to reflect this, and then we also should get perspectives from another hospital, because the past two interviews were neurology residents from the same hospital, so they probably have the same same solutions or same thought process. So next steps is to schedule interviews with a different hospital. We have 3 more interviews next week. I know we're pretty low, but we're expanding to device companies to interview them. Quickly about the ecosystem app, we have the main node, which is the neurovascular device, which is us. Early adopters of the research hospital, and then the clinical data from that will lead us to the FDA, and hopefully that data will push our device into the market. And then which brings us to the main web of influence, which is the insurance companies, where successful reimbursement policies will hopefully increase sale opportunities to the hospital or clinics, which is at the top. And then claims that flow between patients, insurance companies, and physicians, with premiums and coverage decisions affecting the device's adoption rates. And then we have the saboteurs in the corner, which try to push their devices or solutions to the physicians, patients, and also the hospitals. And for the business model canvas, same value propositions last time, except we are updating it to show that if our device works, and then at best we'll have about 40% safer and better treatment option. And customer segments, brain and vascular surgeons who specialize in aneurysm treatments, and then of course medical device companies.
So
We
you're
try
about
to explain to.
20 seconds over, so just practice it a bit.
Okay.
We will throw in another slide next week. I don't know when we get more time.
Okay.
That is, you will get 4 minutes to present later, but I don't know if that's 2 slides from now. I didn't realize you had a device until we got to the hypothesis slide. On your intro slide, you just said something about preventing, better blood flow. Oh, neurovascular device. That should have keyed me in right there. Because I was wondering, it's a stroke prevention for stroke prevention, but you want to have a clear introduction that says our team provides a device or I don't know if it's an arterial expander or a stent or what the heck this thing is, but just some kind of a buzzword or two that it sets my mind up to say, oh, you guys are making a stent, a device, a spring, whatever. Something that I can grab into and say, like, I know what you're talking about. You spent a lot of time on the hypothesis slide. If you could just jump to that, get perspective from another hospital. I'm not sure that's an insight. It just says keep doing more interviews. It seems like the current thing is that it's the peripheral or the perforator blood flow really is what that's what distinguishes you, right?
Yeah.
Could you jump back to the first slide? I just want to see, does that come through in what you're saying? Have I not seen this before? Promotes healing within in surrounding arteries. Okay, it's buried in there. I see 2 sentences. We always say, can you do it in one sentence with, one breath with words your grandmother would understand, unless she was a vascular surgeon. But try to shoot for that so that it comes through very clearly, so that people, as soon as they go into your slides, they know what you're doing, very obvious.
Okay. We're talking about the business thesis, right?
The thesis, yeah.
Okay.
So on your ecosystem slide, so I mean, I don't know. And so, are you a postdoc or a PhD student? What's your background?
PhD student.
PhD student, and you're going to leave the program to start this company if things go well, or you're just doing this as a class?
I'm just doing this as a class because we got the POC, and then my professor said I could do this. So,
is there anyone in the lab who would take this forward as a company?
Probably
Masa.
Yeah,
huh?
Probably Masa. Yeah,
but Masa's not taking it forward. I mean, he can't. He's not leaving.
Okay,
I've worked with Masa for 5 years on another startup called Basilar Biotech, and so I mean,
right.
Yeah, I mean, like you got to have a postdoc or a PhD student because the professors we've never had a professor actually leave UCR to go with their startup in the 9 startups we spun out so far in the last years I've been working on this. But so yeah, we would need to find someone that's outside of this class, but as a business question, I was just curious. So the other thing to think about is that it's very unlikely that the influencers and the customers are actually on this list, right? Your customer is probably going to be actually a med device company, right? Because I mean, the reality of like a startup taking something through FDA approval and then selling it themselves without a large partner is basically non-existent in today's world. I mean, I'm not saying like if you're like have invented something just like, incredibly amazing that, there are a couple examples, I guess, of biotech startups that have, done their own. But I mean, really, like 99% of the time, you're going to be finding and partnering and getting funding from somebody in your space who is an existing large company.
It depends on the complexity of the gizmo, but I would generally agree. Certainly for pharma, I definitely agree with that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, not all cases. I'm just saying. I maybe I'm just missing that med device company on here, and I just not seen it. But I was just curious where it was. So that's all.
Okay. Wait, so if we were to sell this to a med device company, would this change to would this move up?
It would have two parties. It would have your company and the med tech company, and that's about it. But you could slip them in and say you're looking at 2 options and say one is to look for acquisition by a med device company. Two is we build it ourselves. I have no idea how complicated this thing is that you're building. If it's something that, you could have it prefab and just sell and distribute, sterilized and then distributed, you might be able to pull it off. But it depends on what it is and what goes into it. I found this slide a little confusing, just that it was hard to read those little arrows as to where they were pointing. And then finally, your customer, the end user, the physicians, was buried down there in the bottom.
Right.
I always like to start by saying, here's my company, here's what I'm selling to, and then everyone else, I'll figure out where they can go around it.
Okay.
But I do like how you got the FDA in there, so that's good.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I'm not saying, my point is not you change it for class. I'm just trying to have like a little bit bigger conversation with the entrepreneurs so that they kind of understand like what the future holds for you if you move forward past this class. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm definitely not saying this is like wrong or you need to change it for the class. I just was curious where the med device partner was, because typically the way it's going to work is the med device partner is going to come in and be your funder after the venture capital group will be, depending, again, like Eric said. I mean, if this is like something like, hey, we can get through FDA approvals for $1 million or something, then and it, and we can build an inventory and we can hire a sales force and we can do it all bootstrap for a couple $1 million. That's different. I mean, all the startups I'm working with are anywhere from 60 to $150 million to get to sales. And so, if that's not you and it's a simpler thing, again, I'm not a med device. I know more about therapeutics and diagnostics than I do about med device. So that's a good point from Eric. Maybe you can bootstrap it and do it on your own. So that's maybe not a good comment for me, about needing a med device partner. So
Actually, now that you mentioned it, I think Masa did say that he's trying to just sell this off to a med device company. So.
Well, slip it in, play with this model right now that you're going to build something and sell it. Otherwise, this map goes down to two figures, you and the acquiring company.
Okay.
And you want to see that you have an understanding of how this process could work.
Okay.
And that if there was somebody that was going to take it and run with it. I don't like how you've got saboteurs as your competitors. Your competitors are not necessarily saboteurs. I talked to the FDA or talk to some people who have had regulatory experience. I'm running over time here because that would tell you how much testing you're going to need. If as Scott was saying, if this has minimal testing involved, if it's comparable to existing products, then you might be able to get through the FDA very quickly, and it might be worth taking into clinical trials. So, anyway, so we're out of time.
No, and last thing is, change your photo with a little, at least a tiny amount of a smile on the first slide.
Oh yeah. That's just straight from my This is straight from my school ID.
you look like you might have just been booked into the county or something, or the city jail. So give us a little update on that.
I need to take a professional photo. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Thanks, man. That was good.
Thank you.
All right. We got GotInfo next, and I see Magdalena's been waiting there.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. All
Hello.
right. Hi. All right. So let me bring this up and share. Hi.
And then just put it into presenter mode.
Slideshow.
Yep, there you go.
All
Looks
right,
good.
you good? All right, super. All right, so I am Magdalena Cepeda-Selig, and I am the team lead for the GotInfo app, and we tweaked our business thesis. Now it's the GotInfo app connects local vendors to consumers seeking immediate or last-minute products and services, and our solution increases business foot traffic by 3 to 5 customers per day. And we have been fortunate enough to have 8 interviews thus far. You can do it. Stuck. Oh, there we go. All right. So our interview demographics this week were a boutique resort, an adult novelty shop, and 2 revolving inventory shops. And the first question I always ask is, what is that experience with that first-time customer that's coming in with last-minute needs? When does it happen? And the overall sentiment was all the time, frustrated customer and people don't know we're here or what we have. We need manpower so everyone knows. So the insights that I gained from this was that there is a market opportunity for an immediate need service, and that the traveler forgets a lot of things, and they are the ones coming into places and they don't know what the weather's like. They forget their things at home. And then a community response feature that we have in the app was actually validated, because these words that we need a manpower to tell others that we're here, that we have these items, others' eyes and ears, was a huge insight for us, because we added that feature not really knowing, but now that we know that people are expecting it and it works, we are going to be using it. Here's our ecosystem, and we put this in the box. So we are GotInfo Corporation when we're creating the GotInfo app, which serves as it unifies the two-sided market of the owner and vendor and the consumer. So that's why you see GotInfo app right in the middle inside that box. So we are selling to the owner vendor and then to the consumer. And our competitors are Yelp, Amazon, Nextdoor, and then over here, our early evangelists are going to be the moms, the satisfied businesses, the mothers, the caregivers, travelers, personal assistants, people who are satisfied with the app. And then Google Maps, the iOS and Google Play stores are going to be the vendors that affect our business. And for our value proposition, we added some metrics. So we captured the immediate sales opportunity, increasing foot traffic by 3 to 5 customers a day, cutting perishable and inventory waste by 50%. And this app is going to drive first-time customers to these businesses, because businesses will now show up on the radar when people need a red sweater or a jacket out in Joshua Tree. And our customer segment remained the same. And so our interviews have been going great. I've been going door to door, not setting up any potential meetings. I just show up and talk to the owner and the manager, and that's our presentation.
Okay, just about perfect. You still have a few seconds left. I was a little surprised at the demographics that you had. It looks like you were walking down a strip mall or something like that, and
Yes.
going in door to door there. So I'm wondering if you're getting selective bias by the people that you're talking to. But at the same time, I agree with you that it could be those travelers that are looking for those forgotten things. Because I'm not sure, if I say, where is the best donut store or something like that for tomorrow, that's a different sort of customer. Or, what is the best cake store in the area? That's a different sort of customer that you probably aren't reaching out for. But I'm just wondering if you've given some thought, and I forget who your mentor is, but if you want to see with your mentor, is there a way to focus this demographic onto maybe the travelers, forgetful travelers, or maybe it's people that are, out late at night. I think there was the idea of parents looking for baby stuff, baby formula or baby medicines or something like that. Wasn't that you that had that on your first slide? But I'm just a
Yes.
little lost as to who your customer is. But anyhow, that's me.
But I mean, the thing to think about, and this is outside of class again, sorry to keep doing that, but so like the problem with travelers is that how are you going to get them? I mean, you don't know, like you're trying to build a two-sided marketplace, which is like one of the hardest things to do and expensive things to do. And so the way two-sided marketplaces are built is you go to a city so again, I think I mentioned to you to study what Uber and Yelp did when they were growing. Um, you go to a place. So let's just say where are you? Coachella Valley?
No, I'm in Moreno Valley.
Moreno Valley. I wouldn't choose Moreno Valley, but let's just say you choose Riverside or Temecula or something. So the point would be like you're going to choose Temecula. You're gonna be under pressure then to sign up, because no business is going to pay you unless you have a ton of consumers on your app. And so like what I'm trying to figure out is how are you going to get the consumers on your app if they're travelers? You don't know, like you can't. I don't understand how you would market to customers that are coming to Temecula. You see what I'm saying? Whereas, like, if you were marketing to people who lived in Temecula, who are moms or something like that, that's different, because that's a demographic that you can target with targeted advertising and do customer acquisition with. So I would think a little bit more about and this is again outside of class, but I would think a little bit more about what's your customer acquisition strategy, because you have two customers you have to acquire, the businesses and the consumer. And just something just to do a little more thinking on.
Yeah.
Can you go back to your ecosystem slide for a sec? And go ahead, John. We
Yeah,
probably have some of the
it's
same
along
comments.
these lines. It's about, defining who the customer is in the acquisition is think about if this one, the ecosystem, it's big. I mean, you're going up against Yelp and Amazon and Nextdoor and Instacart and stuff. But if I understand correctly, what you're trying to do is drive business into a very local ecosystem that could be tourists. So maybe think of the tourist bureau for in the Chamber of Commerce or something. It's like, hey, if you're coming to Temecula, if you're coming to Moreno Valley, whatever, and we've got the inside scoop as if we're a local, and this is where you can get all the stuff. And maybe think about it that way instead of trying to boil the ocean and go up against the Yelps and the Amazons and so on.
Also, to competitors, you'd want to add Apple and Google Maps. I mean, because 99.9% of people are going to pull their phone out, and if they do a search on their iPhone, they're going to get Yelp results on Apple Maps, right? And then if they're an Android user, they're going to probably just use Google Maps, or maybe they'll have the Yelp app installed or whatever. Also, check into Yelp. That's been a business that has struggled for many years, despite being so huge, because of the fact that there's a whole thing. I don't know if it's still going on, but there was a whole thing going on where they felt like Google was throttling their results because they wanted Google results to come up, and so I think there was a lawsuit. But anyway, that's all stuff you can research outside of class. But definitely look into all that stuff. But you got to figure out with an app. There's only the only thing that matters is how many users you're dumping into the app, how many are staying, and then all the other like SaaS, basically SaaS, software as a service metrics that come with a consumer app, right? And so again, like you're not just going to have, I mean, you're not going to launch an app. There is zero chance that you're going to launch an app in the apps and in either of the app or both of the app stores, and they're just going to go viral. It's just not going to happen. And so what you need to figure out is like, okay, if I'm going to be spending 10 or 20 or $100,000 a month on Facebook ads, which is what most of these apps would need to do to scale, where am I going to do it? And what customer segment am I bringing my retail SMBs, small, medium-sized businesses, right? Because you're going to be trying to convince them to pay you instead of paying Yelp. Because right now they're paying Yelp. Maybe not the adult store and some of the strip mall ones, but like most small businesses are paying Yelp, or they're paying to be part of some type of discovery engine for customers, right? Like Open Table would be one for restaurants as an example. Anyway, yeah. So just some things to think about in addition to the classwork.
Something I do like on this page, I saw GotInfo twice and I was confused for about 3 seconds, but then you quickly described there's two things. There's the company and the app, and that came through clearly. So I like the way you presented that. You used the keywords of saboteur, but you didn't show any examples. So I'm not sure whether you just threw it on there just to use the words so that you scored points by using the words, but give it some thought. Back it up to the hypothesis for just a second, because we have a few seconds left. I'm sorry, the hypothesis. Thesis. Yeah, the slide number 2.
There we go.
There we go. If local vendors subscribe, then they will return they will improve their return on investment. Okay. Yeah, sure. Maybe. Do you have any basis in that? How much will they improve it? I thought you said something about 3 to 4 people more per day. You said that in your hypothesis.
In the business thesis, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what you base that upon, but maybe you have some other outside information that goes into your thesis as to why they'll get 3 to 5 more people per day. And that's the thing, as Scott was saying, they want to know that they're not going to sign up unless you have a whole bunch of customers, and customers aren't going to sign up unless they know there's a whole bunch of services they can get. It's kind of a chicken and egg sort of argument, but it is the way it works. So.
And that's why you have to like figure out, like you need to go in and like you got to niche way down, like way down. You're way too broad. To do a consumer app, you got to niche way down, and then you can be like, okay, we're going to be showing moms in Temecula where to go for whatever. And then you add things in, but also remember, you're going to be trying to you need to build that the two-sided marketplace. And so it's the businesses and the consumers. And if you're just all over the place with the consumers, then again, if you're super broad and then I'm like, oh, I want to find a place to rent a car. And then say you pay to acquire me as a customer for your app. I'm never going to come back to your app ever. I'll go to it once. If what I want is not there, I will delete the app and never use it again. Like you don't have with consumers, you don't have any. I mean, most people that download app, first of all, it's very hard to get a consumer to download a new app. And so if you do, you don't want to lose them. And so the point is you would have to have what that customer is looking for on your app or they won't stay. And then you'll have wasted the money that you spent to acquire them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've run over
Yes.
time, but I think we've
Yeah.
come full circle to the idea that narrow down on a customer that you can deliver something that they're going to want and focus on seeing, what it is that attracts them. And we are over time, but if Francisca can speak in 5 seconds.
5 seconds, yes. Magdalena,
Yes.
remember that your value proposition was about connecting people based on inventory, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't hear you saying that very often.
Oh, I see. Down at the right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Services. Yeah, products or services, right.
Okay.
You asked me to be brief. I was like,
No, that's fine. That's fine. You hit it right on the spot.
It's like he's trying to connect people based on the inventory because
Yes.
yes, I agree with all of you, but yes, Job tells me, yes, go to Walmart. And then I go to Walmart and they don't have it in inventory.
Mhm.
And they tell you, yes, I download the CVS or Walmart app, and they're like, you need to order it online. And you're like, but I need it right now.
Okay. Well, if no one else.
Work with your mentor on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was pleased. I saw, everyone put up a new slide this week. Most of it was pretty clear. Remember, the ecosystem map is to have a clear demonstration of what you think you'd like to do and to show us who else is out there so that you can spend a few seconds saying, I always like to say, here's us, here's who we're selling to, and then everyone else is out there doing stuff that we have to be aware of, but here's us and here's who we're selling to. That's the real story. And there may be something you have to go through, whether it be the FDA or distribution channels or a partner or something like that, but you're trying to get your stuff to somebody who's going to buy it. And you ought to let us know that we should be aware that there's something else out there that will affect your sales or be interfering with, or that you need to partner with, or somehow is out there. But it's you and who you're selling to is what that map is about. Next week is market size. So look at the homework, but you've seen examples. Doug had it up there as well. Flair, shoot me a time as to when you're going to be available, Thursday or Friday. Otherwise, look good. Stick around for questions if you have any. Otherwise, we'll all go off and hopefully you voted today.
There we go.
Nice work.
I can't see it. There it is.
All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
Everybody.
All right, see you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Have a good one.
Adios.